Would you like to learn how to make 4 different types of amazing hot sauces?
Well, today on WTF, we're going to show you how to make 2 different fermented hot sauces, a buffalo sauce, and even a mango habanero hot sauce. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Guerin.
And I'm Janie Wang, one of the owners of Modernist Pantry. Here on WTF, every week we talk about unique ingredients and techniques and show you recipes that you can do in your kitchen. So remember to subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll get notified of our episodes when they come out. And this week we are going to be talking all about hot sauces. How do you make them, different types, what's involved, as well as which thickeners and stabilizers are best for different types in order to keep them long-lasting and tasting great. All right, now I think, Scott, one of the cool things about you is that you actually used to own a restaurant where you made a lot of hot sauces. You have a lot of experience in this area. Let's talk a little bit about, what you used to make in your restaurant, and also what are the types of issues that you usually ran into?
So hot sauces are pretty versatile. You can make them a number of different ways. You can make a quick hot sauce, you can make a fermented hot sauce, and you can pretty much add anything to it, and they're pretty forgiving, so they'll taste delicious because hot sauce is generally great. So these are really base recipes that we have here today. We have a basic fermented hot sauce and a basic quick hot sauce that you can then take and kind of make your own if you wanted to, but they're awesome on their own. There are issues when you're making hot sauces fresh that you don't really realize because of store-bought hot sauces that have these stabilizers that you kind of overlook because they just look great on a shelf, they look great on a wing. But there's things that you need to know about fresh food when you're making a hot sauce like this.
Yeah, and what are the big different categories of hot sauces, and what are the issues you experience when you make them?
So I would always split it, 1 and 1. It's going to be fermented and quick. A quick hot sauce is generally going to have vinegar, peppers, some flavorings that are different, and you'll just blend them and they'll be done. Fermented hot sauces are something that you're going to have to lacto ferment inside of a something like a kraut source that we have here, which we'll show today. So yeah, those 2 ones are completely different, but they all end up being blended and being hot sauces in the end. But it's really that separation that you see after making the hot sauce that you blend is where you can run into some issues.
All right, and I know we're going to cover both types today. Do you want to start the demo and kind of walk us through the first one, and what do you do, how do you make them, and how do you stabilize it?
Sure, so we actually have here, so this, I want to just keep the top off so you can see this really easily. This is a kraut source lid, and this is an amazing lid that you can use at home to make hot sauces in a mason jar. So we sell this, and you can put it on top of any mason jar. You can go half gallon, you can go all the way down to one of the pint sizes, and it's so easy to use, and all it takes is salt, water, and then whatever peppers you're trying to use. Trying to make it here. So let's put it together. Okay. We have some garlic, and once again, all this is sterilized because we're doing fermentation here.
Right.
And quick note, if you see any mold on top or any yeast, when in doubt, throw it out. It's not safe to be, eating anything that could potentially have that. So if you sterilize all this product here, you're going to be good. I wouldn't sterilize the peppers or the garlic, because that's where actually the natural yeast and things will come from to make the really beautiful fermentation. So I have some garlic here. You can crush that garlic before it goes in. I find it's fine without. So we have Fresno peppers here, and these are basically what you will find in a grocery store around you. It's hard to find actual cayenne peppers, so if you wanted more of a cayenne flavor, these taste similar, but they're not exactly the same. It's hard to find cayenne peppers because they're so much bought up for commercial hot sauces. You can use Fresno peppers, and if you wanted some more flavor, you can just put in ground cayenne pepper, which we'll see in our quick hot sauce we're about to make. Next, what I have here is salt water. So this isn't just any salt water. You can use kosher salt.
Okay.
You can use iodized salt, it's totally fine. I like to use like a French gray salt, or I like to use some sort of salt that has lots of minerals in it, because you can add some really great nuances to this hot sauce, and also it will keep the peppers a little bit crisper, so when you blend them up, they'll be really beautiful and really great color, which we see here.
Right.
So like the calcium and minerals in here. So basically all I'm going to do is pour over my, this was a boiled solution, it's not boiled now. And if it doesn't fill it up completely, that's totally fine, because there's something that we have to do with our kraut source next. So the kraut source also is completely sterilized. and you'll see on top, there's a few different things we have to look at. There's a gasket. You want to make sure no air can get in, no oxygen can get in. This is like a little plunger, so you can push it down, and it'll keep all the peppers from surfacing. Generally, when they surface is when they'll get a little bit of mold. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my salt water and just fill this well. You can use distilled water. I already have the salt water, so I like to put it in there. And this works as an airlock. So as the bubbles come up, they will lift this and they will come out without letting oxygen back in. So that's what that's for. So basically we just let this sit 3 to 7 days, depending on how much fermentation you want to get. The more fermentation, the more sugars will break down, then we'll convert to like that really acidic hot sauce. But there's already salt in here, so basically this is ready to go. And if you check out our Instagram, you can see us take it, blend it up, and make a really great hot sauce out of it. But there's something we run into because this is water, peppers, and garlic. So you're going to see a lot of separation.
All right. So this one has been fermenting for how long?
This is about 4 days. We can bring it to the 7-day mark where then we can make this. And this is a hot sauce that is completely stable. We can leave it on the shelf, but I wouldn't suggest it because the fermentation is going to continue. So I would just put it into the refrigerator. It's perfect how it is. You could put it into bottles. I would just keep it refrigerated because it'll continue to ferment until all the sugar is gone. But like I said, that separation is going to need to be fixed.
And kind of what we see now is that this particular sauce is not separated at all. So which stabilizer did you find worked best in this particular type of fermented hot sauce?
Yeah, so we looked at a bunch of different stabilizers. You can see them on the edge of the table. What we found worked best for this was perfected xanthan gum. So I just need a little bit of thickening, and I need something that's going to kind of suspend those particles in there without completely separating. And perfected xanthan gum works in such a small amount. It's literally 0.1% for this recipe. You don't need much more than that. So for every quart or 1,000 grams, you're going to use 1 gram of perfected xanthan gum. It's about a half a teaspoon. So it's going to just thicken it just enough. It'll stick on wings a little bit better. It will, if you pour it over something, it'll hold a little bit better. But the biggest thing is that in your bottles, in your containers, it's not going to separate. And it's not going to look unsightly. And we also did it with jalapeno peppers here. So you can see, you could just switch out the peppers for whatever pepper you want, and this recipe will work.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about perfected xanthan gum compared to a lot of people may have already seen xanthan in the grocery stores, it's just that you don't need to high shear it. So it's kind of nice. You can just, stir it in if that's what you prefer. So that's pretty cool. And one of the nice things about the crowdsourced lid, and we've been carrying them for quite a while now, is obviously you're not just using them in order to make hot sauces. You can use them to make sauerkraut, as the name implies, pickles, basically any type of fermentation you want to do. We love it. It's a great tool. So definitely check it out. We did a whole episode all about fermentation, and we'll just link to that at the end of this episode. All right. Now we talked about 2 different types of hot sauces. One is this ferment one, and the other one is the quick one. What are we doing for the quick one?
So the quick one is actually going to be really easy. I'm just going to put this on. So this is the last part of the crowdsourced lid that I didn't do. Is you basically just use any mason jar lid and just seals it right up. So the next part is the next recipe is actually very simple. It has almost everything that we already have in there. We have the Fresno peppers. We have some salt, which was the salt water that was in there. Here's a little bit of cayenne because I like my buffalo, which is this sauce, to taste a little bit more like cayenne because that's where a lot of the flavor comes from. A little bit of garlic. And then an important ingredient is actually going to be 210S. And the reason why I used 210S for this is there is a high amount of fat. Generally buffalo, like a correct buffalo, is hot sauce and butter. So you add the butter in, it'll emulsify in, and it won't separate out. And that's where the 210S comes in, because it's incredible for stabilization and it's incredible for suspension. So you get all this all these peppers in the hot sauce mixed in with that butter, and you're never going to see a separation. You're not going to see a solidification of that, and you can pour it over the top of a hot wing and not see it break as well.
Great.
So, like I said, this is a quick hot sauce. So vinegar, that's where the acid comes from, and we're going to get this blending first. So I want to break up some of that before I add in my 210S. So blend this up for just a few seconds. We'll sprinkle this in, and then Once this is all completely added, we will emulsify in the butter.
All right, so that whole process, I mean, obviously we're not showing it, but it took about, what, maybe like a minute and a half, right? Pretty fast.
Yeah, and you can blend it up more. You can pass it through a strainer if you wanted to get out any of these particles, but I like things to look natural. I like things to look like you made them yourself. So a little bit of those pieces of pepper are going to look really great on the outside of wings, so we can absolutely leave that. But like I said, you can either blend it up more or you can strain it out if you really wanted to have like a nice refined looking hot sauce. But that's basically it. So we're going to show these on some wings, and then we can look at the different thickeners that we had used and just see a little bit of difference between that, and then we can taste them.
Sounds good. We'll be right back. Okay, now we're back with my favorite part, the taste test, and talking about the different types of hot sauces, as well as show you what happens when you try to use different types of stabilizers with different types of hot sauces. But before we get to that, I want to talk about this week's giveaway, which I know you're super excited about, making your own hot sauces now. So what you can win this week is one crowdsource lid, as well as a 50-gram package of all 3 of the different types of stabilizers that you see here today. And in order to enter to win, just leave in the comments below a hot sauce that you would like to make. So it's that easy. Comment below and enter to win. All right, so Scott, I see 4 really pretty bottles here. Do you want to talk us through what the different types are and what stabilizers you used in each one?
Yeah, so let's start with the ones that we just kind of showed off.
Okay,
these are your base hot sauces. This is a fermented Fresno pepper hot sauce and a fermented jalapeno pepper hot sauce. Red and green being the 2 colors. So basically I just use the perfected xanthan gum. I just need a little bit of thickening, I need some stabilization, and I need some suspension to keep those seeds and particles around without having to have them completely separate out. That's all I need. It's a very small amount. We went into our buffalo sauce, which used 210S, emulsifies in that butter. It's going to stay nice and fluid, whether you're pouring, saucing, all that. But then we have another one here that we didn't show off, which you'll be able to see in our Instagram video and later here on the YouTube channel this week. And this uses another ingredient. So this is generally a very thin sauce. This is a mango habanero. So mangoes have a lot of water. Habaneros are small, so they just mix right into that mango and make a very thin sauce. So we wanted to find an ingredient that would make this stick to the outside, give us that nice suspension, and allow us to have a really beautiful sauce that would adhere to the wings. It'd be nice and a little bit spicier than the other ones, but just something a little bit different. And also this sauce contains a good bit of sugar, which is different than the other 2 as well. So once that mixes with the vinegar, it just becomes a very liquidy sauce.
All right.
So what we used in that is methicellulose F50. So methicellulose is an ingredient that allows you to thicken something, but also when it sticks on something hot like a wing, it will gel just slightly so that it really sticks to the outside and you get that nice color, because a lot of thin sauces tend to just run off the wing. It looks like you didn't get anything on them if you buy them in a restaurant or even if you share them with friends, right? You want it to stick on there and be really presentable, and that's what this does. Yeah,
and I'm sure what people are thinking right now, someone's like, well, why can't I just buy one of these and then use it in all different types of sauces? Can I just get the 210S and use it in everything? And that's a reasonable question. So what did you find when you started playing around with using the different sauces and the different stabilizers?
That's a great question. So 210S, perfected xanthan gum are going to work pretty much universally. You could use them in all of them. But if you are making something that is a little bit thinner, you may have to use a little bit more if you're looking for that cling, that stick, that viscosity for the sauce. F50 we did find some issues with. When it was just vinegar and peppers, we weren't able to get that nice emulsification and that suspension. We did see some separation. So just know that if you're doing a sauce that maybe doesn't, I believe it has to do with the sugar in there, but I'm not quite sure. We couldn't figure out why exactly it was. But if you're doing something that's just the vinegar and peppers, maybe stay away from the F50, stick with the perfected xanthan gum or the 210S. But with something with a lot of solids like sugar and habaneros and mangoes, then the F50 worked great.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly point out I think, which one was the F50?
It's right there, and you can really see a separation.
separation.
Yeah, we can take some spoonfuls and do a
right here.
Give you some good shots of that too. So you
Yeah.
can definitely see there is some separation where the water is on top, and a lot of the thickening properties are in the bottom of the the peppers.
All right.
Good. Do you want to try some of these?
I certainly do. Which one do you recommend? It's like a personal
I would say
fave.
go with the mango habanero.
All right.
Depends on the habanero. Sometimes you get habaneros that are higher on the Scoville unit, or sometimes you get them on the lower.
Okay.
This, thankfully, is a little bit lower, but you can definitely see the
I'm not
viscosity.
like, I like spicy, but I'm not like a crazy spicy. Here you go. So you can totally see how
I'm
well
do a different one.
this is clinging right now.
Get some.
It's not even falling on the table, which I'm very grateful for.
Oh, there we go. Made a mess.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh, it's got, this one has just the right amount of heat to it, for me.
The first batch with the hotter habaneros had quite a bit of heat, but if you like hotter peppers, you can sub out those habaneros. If you like milder peppers, you can sub them out for something like a Fresno or even down to a poblano. It's pretty universal. You can just change it up. Yeah,
and as always, you can get all the recipes in the links in the description below for these 4 different types of hot sauces. Or, if you already have one that you want to add some stabilizers in, you're certainly welcome to do that as well. So enter to win. And if you want to learn more about fermentation, we're going to link to that at the end of this episode. So until next week, from here in the test kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Guerin.